Tuskegee Syphilis Study, the U.S. government's infamous 40-year experiment on African Americans. Before we go on, please feel free to subscribe to this video and also turn on the notification bell to get fast-hand updates of my videos. For 40 years, from 1932 to 1972, the United States government conducted a controversial and unethical experiment known as the Tuskegee Syphilis Study. This study targeted a vulnerable population, African American men, and exploited their trust, resulting in tragic consequences. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study took place against a backdrop of racial segregation and discrimination in the United States. In the early 20th century, African Americans faced systemic racism and limited access to healthcare, education, and economic opportunities. It was in this environment that the study's architects, the United States Public Health Service, USPHS, and the Tuskegee Institute, embarked on their ill-conceived research. The Tuskegee Syphilis experiment was initiated by the United States Public Health Service, PHS, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, in collaboration with Tuskegee University, and aimed to observe the effects of untreated syphilis in African American men. However, the methods employed in this study were fundamentally flawed and morally reprehensible. Approximately 600 impoverished African American sharecroppers from Macon County, Alabama, were enrolled, with 399 of them unknowingly already infected with latent syphilis, while the remaining 201 served as a control group. However, the participants were intentionally misled about the nature of the study. They were led to believe that they were receiving free treatment for bad blood, a term often used to describe a variety of ailments. As an enticement for their involvement, the men were offered free medical care, a significant incentive considering their limited access to healthcare resources. Tragically, the participants were never informed about their syphilis diagnosis and were deceitfully made to believe that they were receiving treatment for a condition known as bad blood. In reality, the Public Health Service, PHS, deliberately withheld treatment, allowing the syphilis to advance, with the intention of observing the disease's long-term effects. The fake treatment provided by the PHS included disguised placebos, ineffective methods, and diagnostic procedures that did not address the actual disease. This betrayal of trust resulted in unnecessary suffering, severe health complications, and countless preventable deaths among the participants. Initially slated to last for only 6 months, the study was extended for a shocking duration of 40 years. Even after penicillin became widely available as the standard treatment for syphilis in 1947, none of the infected men were provided with this life-saving medication. The unethical nature of the Tuskegee Syphilis Study was not brought to light until 1972 when a whistleblower, Peter Buxton, exposed the study to the press. The public, appalled by the revelations, reacted with outrage and condemnation. The subsequent media coverage led to the study's termination in July 1972. Tragically, by that time, 28 patients had already lost their lives directly due to syphilis, while another 100 had succumbed to complications arising from the disease. Even more distressing, 40 wives of the infected men had also contracted syphilis, and 19 children were born with congenital syphilis, leading to lifelong health challenges for them. In 1974, a class action lawsuit filed by the NAACP on behalf of the study participants and their descendants resulted in a settlement. The U.S. government paid $10 million and agreed to provide free medical treatment to surviving participants and family members affected by the study. In response to the ethical violations exposed by the Tuskegee study, the Belmont Report was published in 1979. This landmark document established guidelines for the ethical conduct of research involving human subjects and led to the creation of the Office for Human Research Protections, OHRP, and the implementation of federal laws and regulations requiring institutional review boards for the protection of human subjects in studies. In 1997, President Bill Clinton issued a formal apology on behalf of the U.S. government to the surviving participants of the Tuskegee syphilis study. "What was done cannot be undone, but we can end the silence," he said. "We can stop turning our heads away. We can look at you in the eye, and finally say, on behalf of the American people, what the United States government did was shameful and I am sorry." The USA government also established the Tuskegee University National Center for Bioethics in Research and Healthcare to further study the ethical implications of the study and promote awareness and education about research ethics. The Tuskegee syphilis study had profound and lasting impacts on both the participants and the broader African American community. The affected individuals and their families suffered physical and emotional trauma due to the study's callous disregard for their well-being. Trust in medical professionals and researchers among African Americans was severely undermined, resulting in widespread skepticism and hesitancy toward medical interventions, including vaccines, which persists to this day. After this look at the Tuskegee syphilis study, find out about the disturbing way African Americans were bred like livestock during slavery. Then, read up on the ways African American women resisted slave breeding during slavery.